Welcome to the Brand Clarity Podcast, hosted by Visions to Images and Susie Libertor. The Brand Clarity Podcast highlights several different topics, including entrepreneurship, franchises, and digital marketing trends. Visions to Images helps corporations and franchises with their branding, website, paid advertising, and digital marketing.
Hey, everybody. It's been a minute since I've actually done a live podcast episode without any guest speakers. And there's a lot of things that have been changing and evolving over time. So I wanted to kind of share some new insights and some new information with you guys. So as most of you guys know, I have Visions to Images, and we're a full-scale marketing agency, and we work specifically with franchisors and then franchisees, helping them with all of their marketing needs from a corporate level and then to a local level. And during this time, I've been talking about like franchise clarity in the background, but we've had franchisors tell us their problems, and we always are looking for solutions for all of our clients and anybody who reaches out to us, because we want to be able to give them the support and help that they need. And franchise clarity came about, I don't know, maybe 1-2 years ago, right? I mean, it's been officially launched for about a year or so, but there was prep work to get going. And franchise clarity is a software as a service, so a SaaS program, right? And it's a subscription base. And it's been so different than anything I've ever experienced. And I went into this thinking, oh, this was going to be easy. We have the audience already built, all of this stuff, right? And it was complete opposite. Luckily, we have built and we have made a lot of changes and a lot of adjustments. But I wanted to share because I know that the SaaS industry is very powerful and it's very scalable. As we are starting to scale and grow, there has been so many turning points for me, and things that I wish I would have did first, things that I would have did second. So I'm going to take some time to kind of reflect, and this might be broken up into a couple of different episodes. But so the first problem is you always have to make sure that there's a need for the product, right? And we had that need that we knew our customers needed. Once we started to build it, we felt like there wasn't as much excitement around it. People would try to find other ways. People wouldn't want to do a la carte, right? So we really narrowed down and said this is a reputation management / customer experience journey, because we didn't really want to compete with CRMs or a whole Microsoft or a whole marketing suite. So we really wanted to figure out the need for our customers. And we did tons and tons of different discovery items. We talked to many, many people. We took notes. We used AI. Like, we did a ton of data and research, and we're still doing more of that. The research and the data and the discovery never stops. We always have to keep evolving and growing. And I think that's one of the things, as a SaaS owner, is I used to get frustrated because I was like, I just want to sell, but we can't sell if we don't have the need or the market or the audience for it. And over time, I realized that talking to these people is only costing me my time, right? It's not costing me money necessarily, and it's not costing me anything else. It's just costing me my time. But I really needed to dive in to understand more to be able to provide the best option and solution for my customers. And by just talking to them and asking them questions, not even as a sale pitch, right? Like, we're not selling anything at any point in time. We are literally doing discovery. So we are asking questions, taking notes, reflecting back on those notes, putting them into AI to gather a bunch of data. Like, what are their pain points? What would they like? Why haven't they used this company? Why, like tons of questions like that. So you have to do that first and foremost before you even create any type of prototype or MVP, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The next thing is really talking and figuring out the problem and or solution, right? When I first started Franchise Clarity, I wanted to be everything. I wanted to have a CRM, a marketing support, marketing tool effort, all of these things, because I knew that franchisors needed it. But once I really started to listen and dive in more and more strategically, it was like, it was getting narrower and narrower and narrower, right? I cannot say narrow. So anyways, it was getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Let's say it like that. So the need, like the products was getting shorter. Right. So instead of having this big mass product and big vision, I said, let's focus on customer experience because that's the number one thing that is going to bring in lead generation and sales. And that's what franchisees care about. By saying, okay, the customer experience is the only thing we want. What is their problem with customer experience and what is the solution? So the problem is, there's tons of them, right? I mean, they don't want to sound like a robot, but they don't want to do things manually. They don't have a software in place. They don't have their team members trained, or they're not supportive of getting customer experience. And so the solution is an automated software. But how? What do we need? Going further into, what does customer experience really mean? And is it important? And so, for example, customer experience makes a customer come back or makes them leave and never come back and talk crap about you. In this avenue, we want to make sure that a customer is a walking billboard for you if they're happy. If they're not happy, we talk about why they're not happy and we figure out what's going on. We want to make sure that they're getting the emails after they're done or they need to be nurtured. We want to make sure that there's surveys, that they're getting text messages. There's so many components to customer experience that we don't think about from a marketing standpoint, but then also from a point of sale standpoint. I don't want the two to get confused because this is strictly based on marketing, whereas the POS is something completely different. We can integrate into POS or CRM databases to gather the information about our customers, but this is specifically focused on them coming back and or keeping the experience flowing and going, right? I mean, we always get emails and funnels about, hey, we have 20% off. We have buy one, get one free. Whatever it is, like that's how you're going to keep your customers coming back and back for more. So we wanted to have that customer experience built for our customers, essentially. Hey there, I want to interrupt this episode with a quick message. If you're listening to this podcast episode and want to learn about branding your franchise or small business, then go to brandingbridge.com. That's branding-bridge.com. I'm not going to talk too much about the tech stack because here's the thing. I am not a technology person. I create the idea, I market the idea, I sell the idea. The tech stuff I leave to developers. I basically come to them and I tell them, here's what I want. Luckily, I've had many mentors in Bounce Innovation Hub in Akron, Jumpstart in Cleveland. There's all these different programs that I've been a part of where I can have mentors come in and like help with the tech stack and make sure that they're writing out the correct scope of work for our developers. I don't focus too much on the tech stack. I just know what I want and give the vision to somebody else to create. And then they can create it how they need to in their software creation. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. So going on to the MVP, right? So it's called an MVP. It's a minimal viable product. We're in this state right now where we've built something, we're adjusting it, but it's still not an MVP product. Here's why. We want to be able to have a version that has all the core functions and getting feedback so we can adjust. We've done a lot of beta testing already and we've made a ton of adjustments, but now going to that next level is adding in and fine tuning the technology. Our navigation, when we heard back from beta users, our navigation was not very useful and helpful and made them confused, right? So we want to fine tune the UI user interface, and then we want to fine tune the user experience as well. So user experience on this end is how people are feeling about the navigation, how they're doing this. And the user interface is also design elements and tactics, but we want to make sure like the navigation flows seamlessly so that people can go through all of the stuff that they need to go through and it's easy breezy, stress-free. And so we're at a point where we're kind of tweaking this MVP product. What we plan to do is push out UI. So we're going to recreate the whole dashboard in that avenue. And then we're going to restructure how the navigation is laid out on top of adding in some features / functionality that wasn't in there before. I want you to be careful. And this is what my mentor always tells me is don't add on a ton of features for an MVP or ever, right? We don't need to sell them the whole ocean. Right? We only need to sell them like a ship. Think of it like that. Like they say that in the dating world, there's plenty of fish in the sea, right? We don't care about all the fish in the sea. We only care about X, Y, Z. So we want to really focus in on what these people need to say yes. But you also have to remember when you're doing this MVP that it solves their problem and gives them a great solution. So you have to put all of these things together so that it sells. And this is where we're at. So I can't give too much insight on this because right now we are going through a lot of growing pains. Again, as I said earlier, I'm real and authentic. So as I said earlier, I thought this was going to be easy going into it, and it's not. It's not hard, but it's completely different, and it's much more strategy and time based, and we're selling to different people, right? So I think that part of what we had to go through to get here was the discovery phase. And we really fine tuned who we want to work with. We only want to work with like service providers or people on high end customers where they are going to care about their experience. People who go to McDonald's and Burger King and all those places, we love you guys, but they're not going to care as much about the customer experience because they're not paying as much and it's just a quick interaction, right? So it's like these interactions that people care about are the ones that they're investing money in and keep coming back. And a great example of this as well is a gym. If you're doing personal training or any type of high-end luxury item like that, that's who we target because they're investing their money into something amazing and they're going to feel good about it and keep coming back. So they're going to write about it. Those are the type of industries that we really target. And so that comes back to the MVP, right? These people want something easy, simple. They want to have it automated, right? And so there's still so many pieces that need to be developed and created in order to really sell. And we are still in that phase of talking to people, except our conversations are much different than when they were maybe 5 months ago, right? Now the conversations are more geared towards, hey, what's your customer experience? How important is this? Why aren't you asking about reviews? What is your biggest hang up? What's your biggest struggle? How do you overcome this? Right. And so all of these questions dive into more and more questions as to, well, have you thought about X? We are not selling on these calls by any means. We are asking deep, deep questions to be able to create the MVP. And that's the biggest part. When I look back, I don't regret anything in my life. But when I look back at Franchise Clarity, I was very independent on my own. Hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I did not have any mentors or any support necessarily. I had this idea and I went to the developer and I said, hey, let's create this. And he created it. It's been great. It's been amazing. But there was a lot of missing pieces and it's not his fault or my fault. It's the fact that I didn't have another team member or support that should say, hey, you needed to do the customer discovery, girl, before you even did this. You have to know that there's a product and a solution and a need. And I knew there was to some extent, but I didn't go in depth into all of the customer journey and experience. So it's one of those things where you have to go through the steps and go through the motions, but you also have to do it well in order to get to the MVP and then beyond. And I'm going to stop right there because there's probably a bunch of other steps going forward that we're going to be diving into and I'm going to be diving deeper into. But I don't want to bombard you with too much because I feel like this is kind of the most important pieces for our SaaS products that we have created. And I want to make sure that you are able to digest all of this and take notes rather than spitballing a bunch of stuff. I also like to keep my podcast short. So I want you to digest all of this. And then if you have any questions or you want clarification on any of this, I will do my best. Just shoot me a message. You can do Susie at franchise-clarity.com. And I would love to answer any of your questions that you have about building a SaaS product. And I can always bring in experts as well to kind of share some ideas and tips for you guys. Because this is the evolution and this is the future. And the future is AI automation. And I want to say one thing very clearly too is I'm going to be talking about AI and automation in a different separate episode, but it's not replacing us by any means. It's only helping us. And we cannot manually be there anymore to respond to customers, to ask for their feedback, to even reply to the reviews. There's so many segments and we fall short as humans. We make mistakes as humans. AI might make mistakes here and there if it's not set up properly, but overall it flows so much better. And they're not replacing us, guys. They're only helping us so that we can have more time to do other things that we need to focus on, like actually calling a customer and saying, hey, you have an appointment, or hey, we saw your negative review, like what's going on? So you can take these pieces and put them into human interaction as well. So you're not just being like somebody hidden behind the computer, as we used to call it when I was younger, like a bully behind the computer, like, hey, you wrote a negative review. Like, we're not doing that. We want to make sure that we're still dealing with the customers on a human level. So take all of those nuggets that I just said to you and think about it. And let me know as well if you're creating a SaaS product. If you're creating a SaaS product, shoot me a message. I gave you my email, my direct email. I gave it to you. You can literally ask me and shoot me an email. I want you to also know that there are so many programs available out there. And I'm not talking about funding because funding is a whole nother beast that I have not even explored. But there are so many programs out there that can help you create the MVP, that can help you with customer discovery. And I have had so many great connections in Northeast Ohio, like I said earlier, Bounce and Jumpstart, etc. But there are so many great services, and I'd be happy to share them with you. Thank you, everybody, for listening in on today's Brand Clarity episode with Susie Liberatore. 2 things. First and foremost, please, if you liked this episode, please subscribe and leave some positive reviews. Also, don't forget to sign up for Stop Sending Your Customers to the Competition and get my insider secrets to compelling branding that converts. You can find that at branding-bridge.com. It's a free workbook for you to check out right now, all of the branding techniques and strategies that I use for my paying clients.